Imagine living in a home where you have the most spectacular views of the Red Rock Canyon beautiful mountains or the Las Vegas Strip. Well, I'm going to share with you how I helped one lucky homeowner get both views in almost every window in his home. And if you can relate to anything in this client's story, share with me in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Dave began thinking about moving to Las Vegas when his childhood middle school best friend and his wife actually moved to Las Vegas from Chicago. He hadn't really thought about moving here before, but once he got here, he really fell in love with the beauty of the desert, with the idea that he may escape the snow at some point in his life and not be having to shovel all that snow. And so that is how Dave began his search. He is an attorney for a really large tech company, which takes him traveling around the world, and he really wanted a spot that still has his home in Chicago, but he wanted that spot to be able to be here to relax, to enjoy a different lifestyle than traveling and the Chicago home that he already has. Now, since he didn't have to move immediately, this was kind of one of those where this is going to be a second home for him. We weren't in a big hurry, but he really wanted strip views when he first started looking. And then as he's looking, he realized that the mountains are just as beautiful as looking at that Las Vegas Strip view. So we began the hunt in Summerlin to find not only the strip views, but the mountain views. And it really took a lot of time because some of the homes that we would look at had a view of one or the other, or you had to stand on your tiptoes and look out a tall window to be able to see this strip view or mountain view. And so we saw a lot of houses every time that he would come to visit to see his friends, and none of them really fit the bill. And I really wondered if he was going to find exactly what he was looking for. But we did. Have you ever considered what view you might want from your home? Are you looking for strip views or are you looking for mountain views? Or do you want both? Share with me in the comments below. I'd love to know. What really helped us be able to narrow down our search was that I know all the different areas of town, what that lifestyle is going to look like, and where in a community you're going to get those views, and some places that you won't. So we are taking a lot of time when we're planning our homes to see, and being that he only comes in to town a couple of times a year, it really was just up to what was on the market at the moment. And Dave is one of those people that has to physically be here to walk through the property because he wants to see what it feels like when you're sitting there, where you're going to be able to see, the views that he wanted. Is it just from inside the house? Is it from outside the house? Is it the bottom floor, the top floor? He really needs to take that all in. While other clients that I have, I've been able to do FaceTime videos, but they've been on a stricter time frame. So if you're one of those people who has to walk through the property to be able to see how that home would live like, I am right there with you. I need to do the same thing. Another factor that we talked about at length was his need for a pool. And if you don't know, Las Vegas just passed an ordinance that the size of the pool that you buy currently can only be permitted up to 600 square feet. And that is a big change. So we used to be able to kind of go wild, and the bigger the better. You could really just deck out your backyard with these enormous pools. But because of water restrictions that are put in place, we no longer allow that. So 600 square feet is the max. Now, if you buy a resale home though, you can actually keep the footprint of the current pool that's there. So these are only for new builds. But this was another factor that played into whether he bought a home with a pool or without. So keep the pool size in mind when you are looking for a home. The day that we found Dave's home, I didn't even know that he was in town. He said that him and his friend had stopped by an open house. They looked at it, they thought that it could have potential, but they wanted me to set up a private showing so that we could walk back through and he could ask all the questions that he wanted to ask. Well, when he sent me the address, I kind of started to laugh because I had just done an open house at this home the weekend before he came to town. So I knew everything about this house and why it had been on the market as long as it had. And it was kind of almost like a meant to be type situation, because every question that he asked, I had already been asked by people walking through the open house. And the seller's agent was very knowledgeable about what was happening with this home. And so having that information up front really was a game changer. So we had a few private showings, and he really took his time, went through every closet, how he could expand the pantry, how he could actually expand the home itself into the backyard, because this home just happens to be one of the largest lots in the neighborhood. So there's a gazebo outside with commercial grade heaters for in the winter time. And we sat there while the sun was going down to see the views of the mountains, how the sky turned pink. He really did want to see what it would be like when he was here living in that home. So whatever your process is, that is going to work for you, because you need to know how you're going to live in that home. If you're new to my channel, I'm Eileen Guilbeault, your go-to real estate advisor in Las Vegas for relocations, tips and tricks. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell so that you're notified every time one of my videos comes online. Now let's continue. Collaboration is key in the real estate industry. So before we wrote the offer, we ended up having a conversation at length with the seller's representative to make sure what they needed. So this home just happened to be a divorce situation. So needs aren't always the same on both sides. So we really did take our time, find out where we were at with what the seller needed, what the buyer needed, and then we crafted our offer to meet everyone's needs. And the only way that we were able to do that is because myself and the seller's agent were willing to collaborate and negotiate instead of be at, butting heads and not be collaborative. So that is a winning formula when everyone is really focused on getting the same goal. So everything was going smooth until we got to the home inspection. And really, there wasn't a lot wrong with the house. There just was one issue that we could not agree between the home inspector, contractors, handymen, whether or not there was an issue with the roof or flashing or the stone on the side, if it was a masonry issue. And so because it was so vitally important to the buyer to get it resolved, we continued to extend our due diligence. Now, during due diligence, you can cancel the contract for any reason. And we were under due diligence for almost 3 full weeks of a 28-day close, which could have made the seller very nervous. They may not have wanted to agree to it, but after their home had been on the market for so long, they really wanted to make my client comfortable that everyone was working together to try to find a resolution to what this issue was with the roof. So the way that we finally got over this hurdle is that we got in contact with the builder, and by we, I mean the seller, got in contact with the builder and said, listen, we know that our warranty just expired, but this is an issue that needs to be resolved, and we really feel that you need to be the one to resolve it. So because the seller took that step and really pushed the builder to come out, evaluate the property, and come up with a solution, that is why we got this deal done. Otherwise, my buyer, even though it may not have been a big issue, he may have walked, because until you get into the issue, you don't know how much it's going to cost you. And the amount of money that he was paying for this house, he really didn't want there to be an issue with the roof or mold or anything like that. So because, again, all of the parties worked together, we were able to get it done. Let's take a poll. What challenges do you think would be the hardest to overcome when buying a home? Is it actually finding the home in the first place? Could it be writing the contract and negotiating for the perfect price? Or do you think it could be issues that maybe come up during the home inspection? Vote in the comments below. So after 3 weeks of getting this roof repair all figured out, he was really excited to close. So the day before closing, he flew in from Chicago and then went to the title company to sign. Now, being from Chicago, attorneys are the ones who usually do this. They are an attorney state. So buyer has their attorney, seller has their attorney, and they are the ones who facilitate the closing. In Las Vegas, we're a title and escrow state. And so that means that the title company is a third party, and they take all of the numbers from the contract and they put it into what is called a settlement statement. You have the buyer credit and debit and the seller credit and debit. So all of that is presented so that on one sheet we can look and see who's paying for what. And then it has the amount at the bottom that the seller is going to make and what the buyer has to bring to the table. So if you are from an attorney state, this could be a little bit different for you. So we finally closed on Dave's Las Vegas home. And the interesting conversations that we had after is that this home fit everything that he was looking for 2 years so perfectly that if he didn't get this home, we couldn't even imagine what other home was going to check all those boxes. So you may not find your home today, but eventually you are going to find the one. For more videos about relocating to Las Vegas and real estate tips, make sure to watch one of the 2 videos on the screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.